Christians' curiosity about Jews and Judaism is not, for the most part, anthropological. It is not an interest in a foreign culture and in religion, but instead it's a Christian effort to gain a better understanding of Christianity, and a truer grasp of the Bible and deeper insights into Christians' role in the world. The most obvious guides to American Christians on the topic of Jews, Judaism, and the Jewish state are Jews, obviously. But in America, this interfaith connection faces a significant obstacle because, uh, because American Jews are growing increasingly disconnected from their Jewish heritage, faith, and identity as they dissolve into American society. So when American Christians turn to Jewish friends, neighbors, and colleagues for guidance on Jews, Judaism, and the state of Israel, they're turning to people who are ill-equipped for the task. In the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, waves of religious revival kindled English and American Protestant interest, not only in the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, but also in Jewish culture, in the Hebrew language, in Jewish biblical scholarship, in Jewish customs, and therefore also in Jews themselves. Anglo-American evangelicals inaugurated an ongoing reassessment in biblical studies that prompted an emphasis on Christianity's Jewish inheritance and highlighted Hebraic influences in the New Testament over over Hellenistic influences. The the British conquest of the Holy Land during World War I then further energized British and American Christians in the hope that, or the understanding that God's redemptive plans were manifesting themselves right then in modern times. So evangelical Christians intensified archaeological excavations in the land of Israel as part of their ongoing effort to to trace and scientifically prove the biblical accounts of ancient Israel and ancient Christianity. And this mood in Protestant circles gave birth to what's called Christian Zionism and paved the way for the Balfour Declaration in 1917, in which Britain formally recognized the Jews as indigenous to the land of Israel and vowed to support the formation of a Jewish national home there. In modern America, Christian Zionism has made an impact not only in providing political and economic support for the Jewish state, but primarily in directing the hearts of faithful Christians to regard Jews as spiritual brothers rather than spiritual rivals and infidels. Surveys repeatedly reveal that evangelical Christians support and think well of not only of the Jewish state and of Jews in Israel, but also of Jews in America. Okay? And at the heart of this movement stands the belief that God's covenant with Abraham is um, is everlasting. You know, is still extant, still active. Okay, so it's not only an eternal and irrevocable promise of the land of Israel to to Abraham's descendants, but it's a divine blessing bestowed on the Jewish people, even outside the land of Israel. So evangelical Christians take seriously and literally God's promise that the Jewish people are a blessing to the nations of the world, and that those who bless them will be blessed, and those who curse them will be cursed. Okay. So since the 1960s, evangelical, which is again another era of religious revival, Protestant revival, since the 1960s, evangelical Christians have joined Jews in combating anti-Semitism in American society and in the mainland churches, and joined them in fighting for the liberation of Soviet Jews and advocating for Israel's security against Soviet and Arab economic embargoes, diplomatic boycotts, and military aggression, military invasions. Um, Evangelicals see support for Jews as a Christian duty, one that atones for past anti-Semitism in the church, manifests the bond between God's two chosen people, Israel and the church, and also provides a blueprint for deciphering the unfolding of biblical prophecy in modern times. And the problem that Christians face in this respect is that they know little about Jews, Judaism, and the state of Israel. And the people they turn to for guidance, again, Jewish friends, neighbors, and colleagues, and especially Jewish journalists and professors in Jewish studies programs, these Jews are of little help. Like I said, American Jews are highly irreligious, have little contact with Judaism and little affection for Judaism, and are mostly unfamiliar with the Orthodox mainstream, with the mainstream of Judaism, which is Orthodox Judaism. American Jews score lowest among all Jewish communities of the world on all the parameters that gauge Jewish identity. Okay. Self-identifying as Jewish, raising one's children in the Jewish faith, marrying within the faith, belonging to Jewish organizations, belonging to a Jewish community, attending synagogue regularly or occasionally, enrolling one's children in Jewish day schools, knowing Hebrew, knowing the Bible, observing Jewish law, and visiting Israel or feeling an attachment to the Jewish state. Okay, so on all these different parameters by which you could gauge the strength of Jewish identity, American Jews score lowest among all Jewish diasporas. Now, Jews are one of America's most successful immigrant communities. But the success for Jews has meant assimilation and integration into American society. And so in America, Jews have found a place in which they feel safe, free, and at home among their non-Jewish neighbors. The United States has offered Jews safety, opportunity, and above all, acceptance. And they, in return, have offered themselves, their services, labor, gratitude, and devotion to their adoptive nation and therefore to their Gentile neighbors. So the price of this impressive success story has been an ongoing decline in Jewish religious observance, a decline in Jewish communal participation, and a diminished, a lesser Jewish identity. The vast majority of American Jews attend religious services seldom or never, and a declining percentage are affiliated with Jewish institutions, contribute to Jewish charities or causes, and have a mostly Jewish circle of friends. Intermarriage with non-Jews has been increasing steadily, and now stands at over 70%. And these mixed marriages between Jews and non-Jews typically produce children with an even weaker Jewish identity, who are therefore even less likely than their parents to belong to a Jewish community, live an active Jewish life, have Jewish friends, have a strong connection to the Jewish people, marry within the faith, and raise their children as Jews. Um, so as highly assimilated Americans, American Jews are therefore not very knowledgeable guides to Christians on Jewish history and heritage, Jewish law, the Jewish religion, the Bible, and Jewish culture and folklore. Okay. Then on top of that, Jewish journalists and educators, okay, people whose role it is to educate the American public about Jews, Judaism, and Israel. These people, again, Jewish journalists and educators, tend to be not merely disconnected from their Jewish identity, but conflicted about their Jewish identity. Okay. Um, like their non-Jewish colleagues in media and academia, Jewish journalists and educators tend to be on the progressive wing of American society. And because of this, they're either ambivalent or hostile towards Judaism as a religion, and definitely towards Judaism as a nationality or as a nationalism. Um, and because of this, they're also ambivalent or hostile towards the Jewish nation state. So it's no surprise that American Christians increasingly identify Israel as the authentic expression and representation of Judaism. They sense that Israel and America are home to two Jewish populations on opposite trajectories with regard to Judaism. While American Jews integrate and dissolve into American society at an unprecedented rate, Israeli Jews are deepening their connection to Judaism. In Israel, they are encircled by Jewish communities, Jewish folklore and culture and history, and the Jewish religion. They speak the language of the Bible. They use the ancient Jewish calendar. They give their children biblical names, and they're surrounded by countless archaeological sites that ground their national and private lives in a bedrock of Jewish history dating back to the 12 tribes of Israel. But most important, because they're surrounded by Jews, they marry Jewish spouses, and therefore they produce generations of offspring with a strong sense of common Jewish identity and destiny, unlike, again, American Jews. And so as American Christians embrace Christianity's Jewish roots and Jewish connection, they therefore see the Israeli Jewish experience as the authentic expression, an authentic guide to Jews and Judaism. Thank you.